In the past, the Great Luo Plaza in Great Luo Heaven was always in a closed state, only opening for important grand events. The King's Sealing Ceremony, an event of great significance, was certainly among those, which is why today, the plaza was undoubtedly filled with a cacophony of voices. The vast Great Luo Plaza, seemingly stretching endlessly, was now packed with a sea of people. The fervent noise gathered into sound waves that surged into the sky, eventually spreading throughout the entire Great Luo Heaven, where it could be clearly heard. At this moment, this place wasn't just the most bustling in all of Great Luo Heaven. It was probably the most crowded spot in all of the Great Luo Heaven domain. At the center of the vast plaza, a giant stone platform rose from the ground. This stone platform, known by a unique name in the Great Luo Heaven domain, was called the King's Sealing Platform. Every new king in the Great Luo Heaven domain was born here. The booming noise enveloped the entire space, and from afar, light and shadow flickered continuously, eventually landing among the crowds around the plaza. In front of the plaza, there were several stone seats that rose high, each level distinct. The highest seat was entirely golden, gleaming with brilliant golden light under the sun, exuding a faint aura of majesty. As Chen and the Netherworld Prince appeared in the sky above the plaza, countless gazes instantly turned towards them. The Nine Nether Palace, once the weakest power among the kings, had clearly risen to prominence. So, when the powerful figures of the Great Luo Heaven domain saw the two of them, their gazes were far more serious than before. In the years since, the reputation of the Nine Nether Palace within the Great Luo Heaven domain had grown exponentially. Some gazes lingered on the delicate form of the Netherworld Prince for a moment, then involuntarily shifted to Chen, standing by her side. Their eyes were filled with scrutiny. After all, Chen's name had recently echoed across the northern domain. His achievements in Dragon Phoenix Heaven had even shocked some of the veteran, powerful figures within the Great Luo Heaven domain. Moreover, they were all aware that Chen had been in the Great Luo Heaven domain for less than a year. If given more time, it was clear that he would undoubtedly become a heavyweight figure in the Great Luo Heaven domain. Neither Chen nor the Netherworld Prince paid much attention to the many gazes around them. Instead, they made their way directly towards the Nine Nether Palace's people and stood still, waiting for the official start of the King's Sealing Ceremony. Standing beside the Netherworld Prince, Chen's gaze swept across the plaza. At this point, the other 8 kings had also arrived. The grandeur of the event clearly reflected the importance placed on the King's Sealing Ceremony. As Chen's eyes scanned the surroundings, the gazes of the other 8 kings also briefly landed on him. Figures like the Azura King and Mountain Splitting King showed a hint of admiration in their eyes. Clearly, Chen's performance in Dragon Phoenix Heaven had not only won over many young powerhouses from the northern domain, but had even impressed these old, established powerhouses from the Great Luo Heaven domain. Of course, the Blood Eagle King, who had harbored grudges against Chen and the Netherworld Prince from the start, wore a displeased expression. He gritted his teeth in secret, recalling that when Chen first entered the Great Luo Heaven domain, he had seen him as nothing more than a tiny ant that could be crushed with a finger. However, this so-called ant had caused his Bloodhawk Hall to lose face. Now, in less than a year, the ant he had once dismissed had grown to the point where even he felt a sense of dread. While the Blood Eagle King still believed he could suppress Chen, he had to admit that to do so would require a price. The youth before him was no longer the ant he had once thought him to be. This shift in status greatly displeased the Blood Eagle King, but no matter how unhappy he was, he dared not scheme against Chen now. Almost everyone in the Great Luo Heaven domain knew that Chen had some form of connection with the Domain Lord, and with the Domain Lord's protection, not even the Spirit Pupil Emperor, whom he was allied with, dared to make a move against Chen. So his dissatisfaction could only be swallowed in silence. Whoosh! While the kings were secretly observing Chen, a sharp sound of wind cutting through the air suddenly rang out from the edge of the sky. The powerful surge of spiritual energy in the wind immediately drew countless gazes. This guy, Qin, he finally made it. Haha, I knew it. When the sound of the wind breaking rang out, numerous voices rose in the Great Luo Plaza, clearly recognizing the visitor. Is that the city lord of Tianluo City, Qin Zhong? Mu Chen's eyes flickered slightly at this moment. Under the gaze of countless eyes, a streak of light appeared in the sky above the great Luo Plaza, then slowly descended from the air, cupping his hands and smiling at the crowd. Mu Chen looked up and saw that the newcomer was a middle-aged man with a strong, broad back. His eyes were full of spirit, and his face wore a hearty smile, making him quite likable at first glance. Around this man, a powerful fluctuation of spiritual energy flickered, and based on Mu Chen's estimation, Qin Zhong's strength might be on par with the Netherworld Prince. This guy hasn't improved much over the years, it seems. A cold glance from Nine Nether swept over Qin Zhong, her red lips curling into a slight sneer. Mu Chen gave her a surprised look. Judging by her tone, it seemed she had some kind of relationship with Qin Zhong. Before he could ask, Qin Zhong shot straight toward their direction at the Nine Nether Palace, laughing loudly. Haha, little Nine Nether, long time no see. After being missing for so long, I thought you'd failed your evolution. All these years, you still haven't broken through to the 5th grade Supreme? Your training speed. How do you still have the face to keep attending the king's sealing ceremony? Nine Nether spoke lazily, showing no respect. Qin Zhong's face stiffened. I did help you back then. Don't be so harsh, okay? Mu Chen couldn't help but laugh. Qin Zhong was quite an interesting person. Hearing the laughter, Qin Zhong's gaze turned toward Mu Chen, and he smiled. I take it you're the Mu Chen who has been causing quite a stir in the northern domain? Impressive for someone so young, reaching this level already. City Lord Qin Zhong overstates it. Mu Chen smiled and cupped his hands. His first impression of Qin Zhong was favorable, as he could sense the man's openness was genuine. Furthermore, from the looks of respect the surrounding powerful figures gave him, it seemed Qin Zhong had a good reputation in the great Luo Heaven domain. Don't rely too much on your seniority. You might not even have a spot in this king's ceiling. Nine Nether smiled faintly. Qin Zhong was taken aback. Then, his gaze turned to Mu Chen thoughtfully, before smiling. No worries. I've failed so many times already, one more or less doesn't matter. But if it comes to a fight, I'll give it my all. I'm curious to see how powerful this young man ranked 3rd in the Dragon Phoenix record truly is. Mu Chen was about to respond when his eyes suddenly sharpened. At the same time, Qin Zhong and Nine Nether looked up. In the azure sky, a streak of black smoke whistled toward them. The smoke seemed like a falling meteor, but it carried a chilling, freezing aura within. Countless powerful figures looked up at the black smoke streaking across the sky. It swept toward them, finally transforming into a black tornado that landed in the great Luo Plaza. As the smoke dispersed, a figure in black robes appeared before everyone's eyes. The figure stood in midair. He looked quite handsome, but his gaze was shrouded in darkness, his thin lips pressed together like a blade, sending an invisible chill through the air. At this moment, he smiled faintly and looked at the crowd, cupping his hands in greeting. I am Qiu Taiyin, from the Ghostine sect. Greetings to all. The plaza echoed with murmurs of recognition. Qiu Taiyin was well known among the old powerful figures of the great Luo Heaven domain. Over the years, he had been hailed as the #1 beneath the king level, and this time, he came to participate in the king's sealing ceremony, aiming to secure the position of the 10th king. Qiu Taiyin descended with a calm smile, and many strong figures of the great Luo Heaven domain quickly gathered around him, calling their friends, creating a powerful presence. Qin Zhong also glanced at Qiu Taiyin indifferently, crossing his fingers in front of him. But Mu Chen could feel a fluctuation in Qin Zhong's spiritual energy at this moment. This truly was a gathering of two great forces. That's the leader of the Ghostine sect, Qiu Taiyin? Mu Chen's gaze shifted to Qiu Taiyin, his brows furrowing slightly. From him, he sensed an almost imperceptible hint of danger. Qiu Taiyin's reputation in the great Luo Heaven domain was certainly well-earned. Boom. As Mu Chen's gaze flickered slightly, a clear and resounding chime suddenly rang through the heavens and earth. Immediately, countless powerful figures felt a stirring in their hearts and looked up. They saw a small figure slowly materializing in the distorted space high above the golden throne in the center of the plaza. Below that golden throne, the three sovereigns also appeared, looking down with an air of superiority at the countless experts from the great Luo Heaven domain gathered in the plaza. Greetings, Domain Lord. At this moment, The voices of countless experts resounded in unison, and the entire world echoed with their respectful greetings. Mandala lightly raised her small, white jade-like hand. Her golden eyes casually swept across the crowd of powerful figures in the plaza. Her gaze passed over Qin Zhong and Xiao Taiyin before finally lingering for a moment on Mu Chun. Her voice, youthful yet carrying true authority, rang through the heavens and earth. At this king sealing ceremony, there are 3 individuals qualified to be crowned king. As the sound of her voice reverberated, all other noises vanished. The tense atmosphere filled the air as everyone knew that only those who had gained Mandala's approval could vie for the title of 10th king. The city lord of Tian Luo City, Qin Zhong. The sect master of the Ghost Yin sect, Xiao Taiyin. On the Great Luo Plaza, some voices were filled with regret, though most were not surprised. After all, these 2 were indeed the most qualified and capable to be crowned king. As they lamented their own chances, Mandala's pause was followed by her voice once more. From the 9 Nether Palace, Mu Chun. From the 9 Nether Palace, Mu Chun. When Mandala's final words echoed through the heavens and earth, the entire plaza seemed to pause for a moment. Then, a wave of shocked gazes turned toward Mu Chun's direction, followed by a loud uproar. Mu Chun, the new leader of the 9 Nether Palace. He's actually qualified to participate in the king's sealing ceremony. Isn't that too hasty? He's only been in the Great Luo Heaven domain for less than a year. Though he performed excellently in Dragon Phoenix Heaven, the king's sealing ceremony is far more difficult. It's said that Mu Chun only managed to win in Dragon Phoenix Heaven because of the help from the Flame Emperor's daughter. I heard it's because of that. Whispers filled the air, laced with doubt and jealousy. After all, Mu Chun had entered the Great Luo Heaven domain not long ago, but his rise had been so rapid. Achievements that others could only hope for after years of struggle were now his in less than a year. Such a difference was bound to stir up feelings of imbalance, leading many to criticize him. Xiao Taiyin, dressed in black robes, smiled faintly as he glanced at Mu Chun. However, he didn't show any real emotion. In his eyes, only Qin Zhong among his competitors posed any real threat. As for Mu Chun, though talented, he was still too young and far from a concern. This time, the 10th king title was as good as his. Mu Chun paid no mind to the whispers and doubts that spread throughout the crowd. His eyes lowered slightly, his expression calm. Behind him, Tang Bing, Tang Rou, and the others from the 9 Nether Palace were filled with anger, but under the restraining gaze of the 9 Nether Palace, they refrained from voicing their objections. At this moment, any rebuttal would be futile and laughable. Everything would be settled through action, not words. On the golden throne, Mandala's small face was as calm as still water. She looked at the noisy plaza and gently pressed her hand down. Instantly, the murmurs ceased. In the Great Luo Heaven domain, she was the one and only sovereign. Her words were irrefutable decrees. Since everyone is gathered, let the king's sealing ceremony begin, she said, her voice carrying an undeniable authority that seemed to make even the heavens tremble slightly. Boom! The loud chime echoed once more through the heavens and earth. The eyes of countless powerful figures burned with excitement. They knew this king's sealing battle would be incredibly intense. Swish! Under the watchful eyes of all, Xiao Taiyin smiled faintly. His figure moved, appearing on the king's sealing platform. With one hand behind his back, he completely ignored Mu Chun, focusing his gaze on Qin Zhong instead. He smiled and said, "Brother Qin Zhong, I look forward to your guidance." Qin Zhong glanced at Mu Chun for a moment. On the young man's face, a faint smile appeared. The two stood facing each other, their overwhelming spiritual energy already sweeping through the air, exuding a heavy pressure that spread from the king's sealing platform. Countless powerhouses gradually grew more solemn in their expressions. Qin Zhong's sharp gaze locked onto Xiao Taiyin, his palms slowly tightening. The latter's reputation was growing stronger among the old powerhouses of the Great Luo Heaven domain, and the title of first under the king level was no empty boast. The king's sealing battle today was likely to be far from easy. Boom! A powerful surge of spiritual energy erupted from within Qin Zhong, like a storm. His eyes chilled, and with a stomp of his foot, his figure shot straight into the sky. His palms gleamed with jade-like light, appearing as though they were made of white jade, radiating immense power. "Jade cauldron palm," Xun'er shouted, and in the center of his palm, which gleamed like white jade, a pattern of a jade cauldron appeared. Then, his overwhelming spiritual energy transformed into a palm imprint that shot forward, within which a glowing jade cauldron pattern also appeared, emanating boundless power, as if it could suppress the mountains and seas. "Hee, I've heard much about Xun'er's jade cauldron divine art. Today, I'll finally witness its true power," Qiu Taiyin said with a casual smile as he saw Xun'er's attack coming. He then spun his palms, and dark black smoke began to surge. Within the smoke, a chilling spiritual energy that could freeze the air spread. Whoosh! The black smoke twisted and writhed like a living creature before it turned into a massive black serpent, shooting upward to collide directly with the jade cauldron palm. Boom! The violent spiritual energy exploded, distorting the surrounding space with the shockwave. Xun'er's eyes flickered, and his hands suddenly formed seals. Brilliant light shot upward from his body as his entire form transformed into white jade. "That's..." Mu Chen watched in surprise as Xun'er's body became crystal clear. He could sense that Xun'er's physical body had become extraordinarily powerful. "That's the Jade Cauldron Divine Body, a body refinement technique Xun'er obtained from an ancient ruin. It was because of this that he managed to become the Lord of Tianluo City," Jiuyo explained. Whoosh! As Jiuyo spoke, Xun'er's now crystalline body suddenly vanished. When he reappeared, it was like a ghost, appearing behind Qiu Taiyin. His jade-like fist, carrying the terrifying force to shatter mountains, struck toward the center of Qiu Taiyin's back. Facing such a lightning-fast attack from Xun'er, Qiu Taiyin seemed unable to react in time and could only let Xun'er's fist strike him. Swoosh! Xun'er's fist pierced through Qiu Taiyin's chest, but as it passed through, Xun'er's expression suddenly changed. He saw that the point where his fist had pierced through was now like smoke. A bad feeling surged in Xun'er's heart as he quickly attempted to withdraw his fist. "Hee, Xun'er, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't return the favor. How about you try my mist ghost body?" Qiu Taiyin's lips curled into a strange smile. The smoke around his chest solidified suddenly, and terrifying cold energy froze Xun'er's arm. The black ice quickly spread up his arm, attempting to freeze his entire body. The venomous cold energy invaded Xun'er's body, as if it was trying to freeze his spiritual energy. His face instantly changed, but his eyes narrowed, and his spiritual energy erupted with no reservation. Boom! A vast surge of spiritual energy swept outward, forming a powerful pressure that caused countless gasps from the crowd. Everyone could tell that Xun'er's spiritual energy had reached an astonishing level, surpassing the 4th grade supreme and nearly stepping into the 5th grade supreme. It seems Xun'er has made some progress in recent years. Given a little more time, breaking through to 5th grade supreme would be within reach, someone commented, impressed. Xun'er had been stuck at the 4th grade supreme level for many years, but now he had finally made a breakthrough. Mu Chen's eyes also flashed with surprise. It seemed that Xun'er had some hidden trump cards. His strength was now comparable to that of the Netherworld Prince, who was also half a step into the 5th grade supreme. Bang! On the king's ceiling platform, the spiritual energy surged, and the black ice on Xun'er's arm shattered. His figure was sent flying backward, and as the spiritual energy vibrated, the cold energy invading his body was completely shaken off. So, Lord Xun'er is already half a step into the 5th grade supreme. Truly a cause for celebration, Qiu Taiyin said as the black smoke swirled. Xun'er's expression remained calm, and the vast, surging spiritual energy around him resembled an ocean, rippling with immense power. Every movement he made, every gesture, seemed to carry the force capable of shattering mountains. His eyes were fixed firmly on Qiu Taiyin. Though he had indeed 1 foot in the 5th grade supreme level, for some unknown reason, he still felt a subtle pressure emanating from the latter's body. It seemed that he would have to go all out. Xun'er took a deep breath and swiftly formed seals with his hands. In an instant, brilliant jade light erupted, and an enormous figure materialized. The towering figure seemed to be forged from white jade, but etched upon its body was an ancient cauldron pattern, with a powerful force rippling through the heavens and the earth, creating a sense of oppression. That's Qin Zhong's jade cauldron divine body. When the massive jade-like figure appeared, a stir was heard from the surrounding area. It was clear that many were familiar with Qin Zhong's supreme Dharmakaya. Qin Zhong's figure appeared above the head of the white jade giant, looking down upon Qiu Taiyin from a commanding height. Finally, he has summoned the jade cauldron divine body. Qiu Taiyin also looked up at the dazzling white jade giant, a faint, indifferent smile appearing on his face. Looks like if I want to defeat Brother Qin Zhong today, I can't hold back. Qiu Taiyin chuckled, then waved his sleeve. Black mist surged like smoke, soaring into the sky. Eventually, the smoke coalesced into a colossal shadow, dark and ominous. The massive figure was surrounded by black mist, swirling like a black dragon. The chilling aura lowered the temperature of the entire world. That's Qiu Taiyin's lunar divine body. Someone gasped in astonishment. Mu Chen looked at the two massive figures. Although these two supreme Dharmakayas were among the lowest of the 99 levels, it was clear that both Qin Zhong and Qiu Taiyin had mastered them to a high degree. If they were to battle, it would be hard to say who would win. Under the fiery gaze of countless spectators, Qiu Taiyin appeared above the head of his lunar divine body. He gazed at Qin Zhong's figure, a strange smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Hard to say who would win. I don't think so. Qiu Taiyin slowly spread his hands. The cold, sharp aura in his eyes suddenly surged to its peak. Then, like a tornado, black spiritual energy, resembling smoke, began to swirl around him. The bright day was rapidly turning dark as smoke blotted out the sky. A terrifyingly powerful spiritual pressure began to permeate the heavens and earth. Sensing this spiritual pressure, Qin Zhong's expression finally changed drastically. Mu Chen and the Nine Nether both inhaled sharply, their pupils shrinking instinctively, as they realized that this spiritual pressure had already reached the true level of a 5th grade supreme. Qiu Taiyin had actually completed his breakthrough and had entered the 5th grade supreme level first. The overwhelming spiritual energy engulfed the world, its pressure rippling out, causing the space around them to tremble. The shadow of the black figure stood tall like a demon god, exuding an aura of oppressive, chilling power. At this moment, the powerful figures around the plaza changed expressions as they sensed the overwhelming spiritual pressure released from Qiu Taiyin's body. It was clear to all that this power had far surpassed the 4th grade supreme level and had truly entered the realm of the 5th grade supreme. This was far stronger than Qin Zhong's supposed half-step into the 5th grade supreme level. The many strong figures were secretly alarmed. No wonder Qiu Taiyin was so determined to win against the 10th king this time. He had already completed his breakthrough. Mu Chen and the Nine Nethers' expressions also became grave at this moment. The stronger figures couldn't help but furrow their brows, as they knew all too well that once Qiu Taiyin fully stepped into the 5th grade supreme, things would become troublesome. This meant that Qiu Taiyin truly had the qualifications to seal the king. Moreover, with his strength at the 5th grade supreme level, he could sweep away all challengers beneath the 9 kings. Amidst the loud exclamations, the golden eyes of the mandala, seated on the golden throne, slightly flickered. However, she still gazed down upon the battlefield with an indifferent expression, her face as emotionless as a deity overlooking mere mortals. In her eyes, whether Qiu Taiyin was at the 4th or 5th grade supreme level, he was nothing but an ant. If not for the concern of shaking the morale of the great Luo heaven domain before the grand hunting war, she would have already crushed him without hesitation. At this moment, she clearly couldn't act, and that caused a cold glint to flash across Mandala's golden eyes. On the king's ceiling platform, Qin Zhong also wore a somewhat grim expression as he gazed at the imposing Qiu Taiyin. The immense pressure emanating from the latter's body made Qin Zhong feel a hint of strain. Although he had already reached the 5th grade supreme level, he was still a step away from true breakthrough. In a situation where both sides were evenly matched in strength, this step was nearly insurmountable. Admit defeat. You have no chance, Qiu Taiyin said, his arms crossed, offering Qin Zhong a faint smile. Qin Zhong's expression fluctuated, then he took a deep breath. His eyes, however, showed no sign of conceding. No matter the odds, he would not surrender midway. Qin Zhong glanced at Qiu Taiyin, his face growing serious. He slowly brought his palms together, and in that instant, a brilliant jade-like light exploded from his hands. The jade cauldron divine body beneath his feet also erupted in a dazzling glow. Countless powerful figures focused their attention, realizing what was happening. Qin Zhong was preparing to go all out. "Stubborn fool," Xiao Taiyin muttered, narrowing his eyes, shaking his head lightly, his voice barely audible to anyone but himself. Boom! The brilliant jade light enveloped half the sky, and then, at an astonishing speed, it gathered above Qin Zhong's head, finally transforming into a massive white jade ancient cauldron, towering at about 1,000 feet in height. The ancient cauldron was inscribed with mysterious and ancient patterns. As the light patterns flickered, it seemed like a wind tunnel, continuously drawing in the spiritual energy of the world around it. A powerful sense of oppression spread out. Many strong figures in the sky slightly adjusted their expressions. Though Qin Zhong had fully entered the 5th grade supreme level, his strength was still formidable. This was a powerful move, and it was extraordinarily impressive. Jade Cauldron Divine Art. Heavenly Cauldron transforms into Star River. Qin Zhong's eyes shone with jade light as he roared, his voice booming like thunder, and then he changed his hand seal. Spiritual energy gushed out from within him, pouring into the massive cauldron. Whoosh! The 1,000-foot-tall cauldron shot up into the sky, transforming into a vast jade-colored torrent, sweeping across the sky with tremendous force. Space itself shattered as countless brilliant jade light points floated in the air, resembling a magnificent star river. Many powerful figures watched with grave expressions. This was the most powerful strike of Qin Zhong's, one that could slay any opponent of his level. However, as the jade-colored torrent howled toward him, Xiao Taiyin's expression remained indifferent. Only a faint cold light flickered in his somewhat shadowed eyes. He looked up, and the massive jade-colored torrent was reflected in his pupils. "Let me show you how big the gap is between you and a true 5th grade supreme," Xiao Taiyin said with a cold smile, then slowly raised his right hand. His entire arm turned a deep black at an astonishing speed, and even his fingertips began to drip with thick black liquid. Buzz! The enormous Taiyin divine body beneath his feet trembled. Countless black beams of light shot out from the supreme divine body, rapidly converging at Xiao Taiyin's fingertip. Hiss hiss! The black beams quickly coalesced, and in just a few breaths, a black crescent moon about 100 feet in size formed at Xiao Taiyin's fingertip. Around the crescent, an endless cold aura spread out, freezing the air itself. Drops of black liquid flowed down the black crescent, occasionally dropping and instantly corroding through space before disappearing, revealing its terrifyingly destructive nature. Taiyin Divine Art, Lunar Moon. A cold voice came from Xiao Taiyin's mouth, and then he flicked his finger. The crescent moon, radiating a terrifying chill, shot through space, colliding violently with the jade-colored torrent rushing toward him. Boom! The sound of the collision was like two floods crashing together, their forces wildly clashing. In that instant, it felt as though even heaven and earth were trembling. Numerous strong figures looked up, their gazes fixed on the point of impact, where space twisted violently. The crescent moon and the torrent unleashed their power, each trying to destroy the other. However, in this confrontation, it was clear that Xiao Taiyin was gradually gaining the upper hand. As the black chill spread, black ice began to appear in the jade-colored torrent. "I told you, you're no match for me." Xiao Taiyin's lips curled into a cold smile, sharp like a blade. His eyes flashed with a chilling gaze as his hand formed a sudden, drastic seal. Boom! The black crescent moon grew colder, transforming into a streak of eerie light that cut across the sky. In an instant, the jade-colored torrent was torn apart, scattering into countless light points that exploded in midair. As the jade-colored torrent shattered, Qin Zhong's face turned pale, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Xiao Taiyin's gaze was cold and indifferent. In the next moment, his figure vanished, and at the same time, a black spear formed in the giant hand of his Taiyin divine body. With a sharp whoosh, it pierced through the void. The black spear tore through the space in front of the jade cauldron divine body, and in the blink of an eye, it shot through, striking the jade cauldron divine body with the speed of lightning. The black chill spread, quickly forming a layer of black ice over the surface of the divine body. Qin Zhong's face changed dramatically. Focus on saving yourself first. The cold voice came from ahead. A ghostly figure appeared. Qiu Taiyin's gaze darkened with ruthless intensity as he stared at Qin Zhong. At the same time, his legs swept forward, moving with the speed of a shadow and carrying the force to shatter mountains, crashing into Qin Zhong's chest. Qin Zhong was struck heavily, spitting out more blood as his body was sent flying like a cannonball. He crashed down onto the king's ceiling platform, carving a deep, 1,000-meter-long scar into the surface. Boom! As Qin Zhong struggled in his fall, the jade cauldron divine body shattered completely, turning into light points that drifted away. The world fell silent. Countless powerful figures stared in shock at the scene before them. No one had expected Qin Zhong to fall so quickly and so miserably. The king's eyes narrowed slightly. Qiu Taiyin's strength was indeed not to be underestimated. Mu Chun and Jiuyo frowned at the same time. It seemed Qin Zhong was truly no match for Qiu Taiyin. Under the gaze of countless eyes, the Taiyin divine body beneath Qiu Taiyin's feet began to dissipate. He crossed his arms, slowly descending, and landed on the king's ceiling platform. He merely glanced indifferently at the severely wounded Qin Zhong. The cold Taiyin aura from his earlier kick had already invaded Qin Zhong's body, freezing him in place. The result of the battle was now clear. Having defeated Qin Zhong, Qiu Taiyin's gaze shifted toward the direction of Mandala, a respectful expression appearing on his face as he cupped his hands in a bow. Domain Lord, is there any result for this king's ceiling battle? As soon as he spoke, many eyes turned toward Mu Chen's direction with strange looks, for everyone knew that Mu Chun was the third person qualified to seal a king. Qiu Taiyin's actions clearly showed that he had ignored Mu Chen entirely. It was obvious that Qiu Taiyin didn't believe Mu Chun posed any threat to his path to sealing a king. Under the gaze of countless eyes, Mu Chun remained calm, his lips simply pressing together in a slight motion. Mu Chun, maybe it's better to let it go this time. Tang Bing hesitated behind him, her voice low. After witnessing Qiu Taiyin's astounding strength, she couldn't help but worry about Mu Chun. For now, Qiu Taiyin had truly advanced to the 5th grade supreme. Unless Jiuyo herself intervened, no one in the 9 Nether Palace could stand against him. Consider the 200,000 supreme spiritual liquid as a sponsorship from the 9 Nether Palace, Tang Bing added. Mu Chen couldn't help but cast her an irritated look. This money-hungry woman. Jiuyo also furrowed her brow slightly, glancing at Mu Chun, and quietly said, even Qin Zhong couldn't handle him. If you want to fight, your chances of winning aren't high either. She understood Mu Chen's strength, but it seemed Qiu Taiyin was beyond what a 3rd grade supreme like Mu Chen could deal with. The world fell silent, and all eyes were on Mu Chun. Even Mandala, sitting on the golden throne, slowly turned her golden eyes toward him. It seemed everyone was waiting for Mu Chen's response. Under the watchful eyes of countless people, Mu Chun took a deep breath. Then, a smile appeared on his youthful, handsome face, one filled with no trace of fear. Mu Chun lightly tapped his toes, and his figure appeared on the king's ceiling platform under the watchful gaze of countless eyes. He then cupped his fists and smiled at Qiu Taiyin, his clear voice resonating, causing an immediate stir in the heavens and earth. Mu Chun of the 9 Nether Palace, here to seek guidance from sect leader Qiu. Within the ice prison forged from black ice, the freezing cold rolled like waves, a chill so intense it could freeze the spiritual energy within a person's body. Inside the prison, Mu Chun stood still, his palms coming together at this moment. As his palms met, a low hum reverberated from within his body. Soon, a massive wave of spiritual energy surged out like a flood, spreading throughout his limbs and bones. The spiritual pressure surrounding him expanded at an astonishing speed, then stacked upon itself, like layers of waves, sweeping toward the next level of strength. Mu Chun had gained many opportunities within Dragon Phoenix Heaven. By that time, his spiritual power had already reached the peak of the 3rd grade supreme. However, he had refrained from breaking through back then because he knew his progress was rapid, and sometimes, too much speed could lead to an unstable foundation. Therefore, even though he had refined the blood essence of many divine beasts within Dragon Phoenix Heaven, he still did not attempt to break through to the 4th grade supreme. He knew that once he did, the Netherworld Prince would no longer be as confident in their encounters. He had been enduring until his return to the Great Luo Heaven domain. After nearly half a month of closed-door cultivation, he finally mastered the power he had gained in Dragon Phoenix Heaven. Now, the spiritual energy within him had almost reached a state of overflowing. Now, all he needed to do was gently stir his internal spiritual energy, and like a flood, it would automatically surge out, completing his breakthrough naturally. Around the king's ceiling platform, countless gazes were fixed on the black ice prison. Many people shook their heads in regret, clearly believing that Chen had failed. After all, the overwhelming spiritual power of a 5th grade supreme was not something a mere 3rd grade supreme could contend with. Sister Nine Nether, Chen He, Tang Bing, and the others expressed their worries, their voices low. Nine Nether furrowed her brows slightly. She stared at the ice prison, and with her sharp senses, she faintly detected a strange fluctuation. So, she didn't speak. On the golden throne, Mandala's golden eyes flickered slightly. She then gently lifted her red lips, thinking, this guy still has some skill. It should be over. This boring fight. Under the watchful eyes of countless people, Xiao Taiyin gave a faint smile. In his view, the gap in strength between Chen and him was simply too vast. Chen had indeed shown some surprising techniques, but unfortunately, they couldn't make up for the enormous gap between him and a 5th grade supreme. Still, crushing this young genius, whose fame had recently spread across the northern domain, brought a sense of satisfaction to Xiao Taiyin. What young genius? In my eyes, they're nothing more than playthings. Xiao Taiyin sneered in his heart, and then extended his hand from afar toward the black ice prison, preparing to crush it with a fierce grip. Boom! However, just as Xiao Taiyin's hand was about to close to destroy the ice prison, a surge of overwhelming and scorching spiritual energy erupted like a volcano. Within this immense spiritual energy, purple flames and invisible lightning blazed. Both the purple flames and the lightning were extremely harsh and violent, bursting out and immediately evaporating the ice prison into nothingness. What? Xiao Taiyin's face changed drastically. The surrounding powerful figures stared in shock at the scene. A massive pillar of spiritual energy shot toward the sky, then quickly shrank and finally dissipated. When the light faded, a tall, young figure appeared in the sky. Swish! All eyes turned toward him. It was still Chen, with his black hair flowing and his deep, dark eyes as if they were black holes. However, the spiritual energy rippling around him was now clearly several times more powerful than before. This sudden surge in spiritual strength caused countless people to gasp in surprise. Did he? Countless people were stunned, and then they couldn't help but gasp in awe. No one had expected Chen to break through at such a critical moment. This guy, achieving such feats in just 1 year, was truly not someone ordinary could compare to. However, even if he has broken through, he is still only a 4th grade supreme. There is still a vast difference between him and Xiao Taiyin. Some of the stronger individuals shook their heads, clearly not believing that Chen could challenge Xiao Taiyin just because of this breakthrough. After all, this breakthrough had merely reduced the gap between them a little. It hadn't brought him any closer to or surpassed Xiao Taiyin. A few other powerful figures nodded in agreement. There was still a noticeable difference between a 4th grade supreme and a 5th grade supreme. Meanwhile, amidst the hushed whispers, Xiao Taiyin looked at Chen, who was hovering in midair, his face darkening. Clearly, this turn of events was also beyond his expectations. Chen, commander, truly lives up to his reputation as a young genius. To be able to break through under such circumstances, Xiao Taiyin said with a faint smile. However, perhaps even with a breakthrough to 4th grade supreme, it may not mean much. I suggest we end this battle here. If it continues, I'm afraid it won't be easy to stop. Chen, upon hearing this, remained unfazed and calmly asked, so who wins? Xiao Taiyin's expression slowly turned cold. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he coldly replied, since Commander Chen insists on determining the outcome, I suppose I have no choice but to accompany you. As he spoke, a murderous glint flashed deep in his eyes. He had thought his previous words had given Chen enough face, But who would have expected this guy to be so unaware of his limits, even daring to question him like this? Qiu Taiyin's bony fingers suddenly clenched into a fist, and with a wave of his sleeve, a vast and dark spiritual power surged out like a tidal wave, forming a huge, pitch-black sword. With a whoosh, the sword tore through the air and came crashing down towards Mu Chen. Mu Chen's dark eyes, as black as an abyss, flickered slightly, but he did not dodge. Instead, he suddenly brought his palms together, and in an instant, the spiritual energy burning with purple flames and crackling with netherworld heart demon lightning fused together. It formed a powerful spiritual force whip that swept out, colliding with the huge, cold, and dark sword. Boom! The two forces collided violently. However, this time, Qiu Taiyin's attack did not achieve the same overwhelming victory as before. After a brief stalemate, the spiritual force whip was eventually cut through, but cracks appeared on the ice-cold, pitch-black sword. Clearly, after reaching the fourth grade supreme, Mu Chen was now able to hold his own in a spiritual energy clash, thanks to the fusion of the undying fire and netherworld heart demon lightning. He no longer fell behind Qiu Taiyin by such a great margin. At the very least, it was no longer possible for Qiu Taiyin to simply overwhelm Mu Chen using spiritual energy alone as he had done before. Qiu Taiyin clearly noticed this shift, and his already cold expression became even more grim. Mu Chen remained calm, his composure unshaken. After entering the lesser heart demon state, he was in an absolute state of calm, the most perfect combat condition. In this state, his combat power saw a significant increase because he could use every strand of spiritual energy within him to its maximum potential without any wasteful expenditure. Commander Mu Chen truly has impressive skills. Today, I'm eager to see just what methods you have at your disposal. Qiu Taiyin's expression was ice-cold. He stamped his foot, and immediately, boundless spiritual power surged into the sky, manifesting a giant, pitch-black shadow. The chilling power surged forth like a tidal wave. That was the Taiyin divine body. Clearly, Qiu Taiyin now understood that to truly defeat Mu Chen, relying solely on the suppression of spiritual power was no longer enough. He had to use his true abilities. He wanted Mu Chen to understand that even if he had reached fourth grade supreme, it would still not change the outcome of this battle. Qiu Taiyin appeared above his Taiyin divine body, his gaze as sharp as a blade, locking onto Mu Chen. Then, his pale, withered fingers extended, and at his fingertips, dark spiritual power began to gather wildly. A black crescent moon, radiating cold and ominous energy, materialized once again. Everyone's eyes sharpened at the sight. Previously, Qin Zhong had been defeated by this very move, so everyone understood the immense power of this black crescent moon. Mu Chen's black eyes flickered. With a wave of his sleeve, dazzling golden light erupted from beneath his feet, forming a golden giant. The great sun indestructible body was summoned, causing a violent tremor of spiritual energy throughout the world. Golden light spread across the heavens and earth, and even though the Taiyin avatar's cold aura circled around, it couldn't penetrate the range of the golden light. Everyone could clearly see the power of Mu Chen's supreme Dharmakaya. Even when facing a supreme Dharmakaya cultivated by a fifth grade supreme, he showed no signs of weakness. Humph! Qiu Taiyin's gaze sharpened as he saw the great sun indestructible body beneath Mu Chen's feet. He could tell that this supreme Dharmakaya was extraordinary. However, he merely sneered inwardly. No matter how remarkable Mu Chen's supreme Dharmakaya was, it still had to rely on his own spiritual energy to support it. Even if a ninth grade supreme cultivates the most basic of supreme Dharmakayas, it would still be far more powerful than a first grade supreme's Dharmakaya, even if it ranked among the top 10. Since you're so confident in yourself. Qiu Taiyin's lips curled into a cold, sinister smile. Then, under the watchful eyes of countless onlookers, his palms slowly spread open. A vast, black spiritual energy roared out from the Taiyin avatar, swirling around his hand. The energy gathered under his palm, and soon, the air was filled with a series of sharp gasps. 5 black crescent moons appeared beneath his palm. Previously, even a single black crescent moon had been enough to make Qin Zhong struggle to defend. Now, with 5 appearing together, Their combined power was such that even if Chen advanced to the 4th grade supreme, he would still struggle to withstand it. Qiu Taiyin was clearly not planning to give Chen any chance.